Imagine moving to a new country, ready to start fresh, only to find yourself living in an apartment with a roommate who becomes unsettling fixated on you. What started as a normal exchange between students quickly spiraled into sleepless nights, eerie stares, and a moment so chilling it still haunts me to this day. This is the true story of my year in Toronto, and the roommate I'll never forget. In 2022, I decided to take a leap of faith. My English skills were holding me back in business school, so I packed my bags and moved to Toronto, Canada, for an immersive language course. The decision wasn't easy. Every step was weighed down by the looming costs and the uncertainty of leaving everything familiar behind. To make it work, I found a shared apartment, 3 small bedrooms, a shared kitchen, and a balcony that overlooked a quiet street lined with skeletal trees that swayed like restless sentinels. When I moved in, one of the bedrooms was still unoccupied. The landlord assured me another student would fill the vacancy soon. My only roommate at this time was a towering figure, a man with a warm demeanor, but a presence so commanding it seemed to make the walls shrink. He was easygoing, and his company put me at ease. The apartment, while modest, began to feel livable. A few weeks passed before my roommate announced he'd be leaving for a road trip through Canada's national parks. He left early one Saturday morning, handing me the responsibility of welcoming the new tenant later that day. I didn't think much of it. I assumed it would be a brief introduction before I returned to my routine. But the hours crept by, and the new tenant didn't show. 3 o'clock turned to 4, then 8, then 10. I ate dinner alone in the dim light of the kitchen, the hum of the refrigerator unnervingly loud in the empty space. As midnight approached, I gave up waiting and went to bed. The silence of the apartment felt thicker than usual, clinging to the air like an unseen mist. Just as I began to drift into sleep, a sharp knock at the front door jolted me awake. I froze, my breath caught in my throat. For a moment, the stillness seemed to amplify every creak and groan of the old apartment. Then, faint footsteps echoed through the hallway, accompanied by a voice, soft and unfamiliar, muttering something I couldn't make out. Relieved it was likely the new tenant, I stayed in bed, too groggy to introduce myself. But then there was a knock on my bedroom door. Once. I held my breath, listening intently. 10 minutes later, it came again, louder this time. Uneasy, I got up and opened the door. A young woman stood there, her face bathed in the faint glow from the hallway light. She was slight, with a blank expression that made her seem almost like a figure from a dream. She couldn't have been older than 25. I quickly gave her a rundown of the apartment, exchanging social media details before retreating back to my room. She was quiet, her responses clipped and disjointed. I told myself she was just shy, perhaps nervous about moving in, and dismissed the encounter. The days that followed were anything but ordinary. She often asked me for help navigating the city, and I obliged, showing her bus routes and subway stops. But something about her unsettled me. Her silences stretched too long, and when she spoke, her words were measured and distant, as if she were trying to mimic a conversation rather than engage in one. Her behavior grew stranger with each passing day. Every evening, without fail, she found a reason to talk to me. Her questions become oddly personal, her tone curious, yet devoid of warmth. One night, as I lay in bed scrolling on my phone, I felt a prickle of unease. as though unseen eyes were boring into me. Turning toward the window, I saw her standing on the balcony, framed by the weak glow of the streetlights. Her hands rested on the railing, her gaze fixed on me with an intensity that made my skin crawl. When our eyes met, she turned abruptly and disappeared into her room. It happened again the next night, and the night after that. Her face was always pale, her expression blank, her eyes following my every move. The apartment began to feel colder at night, the kind of chill that sinks into your bones and refuses to leave. One morning, I woke before dawn for an early appointment. The apartment was shrouded in darkness as I shuffled to the bathroom. The faint light under the door cast long shadows across the hallway. I was brushing my teeth when I heard it, a door creaking open. My heart leapt into my throat. Through the crack of the bathroom door, I saw her. She moved silently, her bare feet gliding across the wooden floor. She stopped outside the bathroom, her head tilting slightly as if she were listening. I froze, every instinct screaming at me to stay still. Then, she pushed the door open and stepped inside. She sat on the closed toilet seat, her eyes locking onto mine. Her face was void of emotion, her stare unnervingly hollow. The silence pressed down on me. The sound of my own heartbeat was deafening. I fumbled for an excuse, muttered something incoherent, and bolted from the bathroom. She didn't follow. That night, I barricaded my bedroom door with a chair. I told myself I was overreacting, but the knot of dread in my stomach refused to loosen. On my last night in the apartment, the tension reached its peak. I was eating dinner in my room, trying to distract myself with a book, when I felt it again. That prickling sensation of being watched. Slowly, I glanced toward the window. She was there. Her hands gripped the railing, her eyes boring into me with an unnatural intensity. I turned away, refusing to acknowledge her, but hours later, I woke from a nightmare, drenched in sweat. The room was dark, the faint glow of the city barely illuminating the window. She was still there. This time, she didn't vanish when I noticed her. She stood motionless, watching. Then suddenly, she turned and darted into the apartment. Panic seized me. I scrambled to lock my bedroom door, just as I heard her footsteps in the hallway. The handle jiggled once, then again, harder this time, and then silence. When dawn finally came, I packed my things and left without a word. The apartment felt suffocating, its walls heavy with the weight of her unspoken presence. Even now, I can't explain her behavior. Loneliness, a cry for help, or something else entirely. But I'll never forget the way she watched me. Her gaze relentless, her presence suffocating. To the woman I shared an apartment with, who I've dubbed roommate from hell, please, let's never meet again. Thanks for sticking around until the end of this chilling tale. If you enjoyed the story, or if it sent a shiver down your spine, don't forget to hit that like button. Your support helps the channel grow and keeps these eerie stories coming your way. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Have you ever experienced something unexplainable, or do you have a theory about what happened in this story? Let's talk about it. And if you're new here, make sure to subscribe so you never miss a new upload. There's plenty more to uncover. Stories of the strange, the unsettling, and the downright terrifying. Until next time, stay curious, stay cautious, and stay safe.